Why do I feel like I linger? Linger between the words to say the words to remember.
Hey guys, so today's video is going to be on the Fate series. It's another one of the series that I like, so I was thinking about covering a character from it. It's been a while since I've done my last video. I guess like not a massive amount of time, but I've been trying to stick to a 1 or 2 video per day schedule, or like maybe a video a day, and if I miss a day or something, or if it's practically like over, then I'll do like 2 videos in one day. But I did actually miss a few days. I've just been busy with a lot of stuff in real life, but I want to come back with a bang and talk about my favorite character from the entire Fate series, barring possibly Shiro Emiya, just because there's so many versions of him. He's such a cool character. Um, I like seeing like his growth across the different versions of him and stuff, and like the fact that he's like a human that can stand up to heroic servants and stuff. Like of course there's like plot armor and there's stuff that doesn't really make sense, and you can point out a bunch of different plot holes with Fate. You can point out a bunch of different plot holes with a bunch of different series. That's kind of how that goes. But I really like Shiro. I vibe with him. But there's one character that I think I like more. That's the Grand Assassin, King Hassan. Now, I'm not going to be doing my usual thing where I go over his appearances in the series. I more so want to talk about his powers and what he can do, how strong he actually is. But like to give like a simple summary, he shows up in the sixth singularity in Fate Grand Order, um, and they're fighting against Artoria Pendragon, but like her Lancer form, the Lion King, and basically he's a grand assassin. There can only be like 1 grand for each class, and it's like the maybe not the strongest, but for certain the one that embodies the meaning of the class the most. Uh, and they do end up being some of the strongest servants. Basically, their goal, why they exist, is there's this class of servant question mark. Not really sure about that one, but they're called beast class, and their whole thing is like they're built on like the sins of humanity, and their whole goal is to like kill humanity. So grand servants are the frontline defense between the extinction of humanity via beasts and being able to continue as it has. So he's fighting against the Lion King, and I ain't talking about Mufasa. Uh, and he actually has to throw away his grand title because like the whole thing with grands is like they can't really do stuff on their own. They're given orders to fight beast titans. They show up, or not beast titans, but beast class servants. They show up. They're there to fight them, and then they're gone. They don't get to do whatever they want with their grand power and stuff. So to help Chaldea, which is like the group of good guys, like it's like the last of humanity, he actually has to throw away his title as Grand Assassin, and he still has like grand power, but it's very quickly diminishing because he had to give that up to help Chaldea. It's like either you continue to be the Grand and you're basically a Grand is kind of like Emiya, but only for Beast class. Like one of the spirits of Earth, I forget if it's the spirit of humanity or if it's the spirit of Earth. I think it's the spirit of humanity because of course Grands are supposed to be a counter to any threat to humanity. So like I think the spirit of humanity summons Grands, and it's like wipe out the beast and then you're done. But he actually gives up. He has an option to give up his title as Grand and all that power in order to do as he pleases, like a normal servant. So he gives it up to help against the Lion King. But he actually shows up again in the 7th singularity in Babylonia. That was actually the most recent showing of the Fate anime. They're actually doing a movie about Camelot soon, and it looks super exciting. I'm really happy about Fate still getting attention and stuff all the way in 2020. So I can't wait to go see that if what is going on right now finishes. I hope so. But he shows up in Babylonia, the 7th singularity, and he's kind of like a wise, saged old man. He's in disguise the whole time, but you know, last second plot twist. They're fighting against like the big baddie of the arc, Beast 2, which is Tiamat, and they're doing pretty well, but they start having a bit of difficulty, so they decide they're gonna do like this all out, no holds bar final front against Tiamat, and basically the wise old man that's been following them around and giving helpful advice every now and then reveals himself to be King Hassan, and he's still got some of his beast power, and or not his beast power, but I mean the man does go beast mode. If you see the anime, I don't think he does this in the game, but if you see him in the anime, that dude literally like chucks his sword so he can eat the lamias or whatever they're called. I forget, but yeah, that man literally starts eating them. So okay, very cool, my dude. But he basically he gives up the rest of his power as a Grand to inflict death on Beast 2, because her whole deal is like she can't be killed because she cannot conceptually die. So one of King Hassan, being the Grand Assassin, one of King Hassan's special abilities is that if something cannot die, then he inserts the concept of death within them, which basically, it's fancy talk for, they couldn't die before because they literally cannot. And then King Hassan says, well, now you can. My man is like the Billy Mays or like the Phil Swift of death. He's like, flex tape? No. Let me fix this real quick. And he's like, okay, now you can die. But yeah, so he basically makes so that Tiamat can die. Really helpful for that. And his whole deal is basically he is like Hassan Isaba, and he's like the founder of the Hashashin sect, and that's basically where like the idea of assassins came from. It even sounds similar. Hashashin assassin. I believe it comes from the that hash plant, and it's basically marijuana. People would say stuff like he was tempting people to join his cult with false pretenses and poisoning their mind with drugs and stuff. So that's where the whole that little bit, the Hashashin sect, came from. Um, and he's basically like his moniker is like the old man of the mountain. I don't remember all the specifics of it, but if I remember correctly, he had this spat with this regional like lord of his area, and he basically assassinated the dude. I don't think he killed him, but like he like threatened his life in a way that scared him so badly. Like he abandoned his castle, which of course was on this mountain, and he stays up on that mountain. He like literally never leaves for like his whole life. I think he may have left like once or twice, if I remember correctly. I don't remember all the details off the top of my head, but it's something like that. He basically goes to this mountain castle and never comes out. So there's this whole deal like, oh, he's the first, like he founded the Hashashin sect, and it's this big deal, but there's no actual proof in real life that he ever existed. And even if he did, the 18 people that came after him that like took on the moniker of Old Man of the Mountain, like the people that replaced him, none of them actually knew who he was, like behind the mask. But yeah, he's like legendary. He's considered the Hassan of Hassans. I think even in Fate they consider him the Hassan killer. So it's like Hassans are like assassins of like the highest order, but like this is the guy you call to assassinate the assassins. Um, yeah, like when they fall into depravity or when they like become sloppy, he's actually the one that comes in and he's like, yeah, it's my job to kill you. And yeah, he like gets the nickname King Hassan because you'll hear that thrown around a lot. He actually gets that from Ritsuka, the main character of Fate Grand Order. He basically there are other Hassans in Singularity 6, so he's like, well, if you're the Hassan of Hassans, if you're the founder and the Grand Assassin, well, that kind of makes you the king. Like you're the King Hassan. So he liked that name. He thought that was pretty dope. So he does respond to that and everything. But that's basically it for him in the story. I don't remember if he's come back at all yet. I don't believe he has. But yeah, that was like his whole. He shows up in Singularity 6. He discards Gran to help Chaldea. He shows up in Singularity 7. He single handedly, makes a beast class servant defeatable. He helps to defeat said beast class servant. And that's basically his the extent of his, I hate to say it like this, but the extent of his use, because I don't really think he shows up ever again. But as far as like his actual powers, like if this dude either kept his grand class or at the very least was around more often to fight, then you'd see that this guy's like a genuine threat. Like there is a reason this man was the Grand. Um, he's one of the stronger ones. He's got an A in strength. So like amongst the servants, he's got a pretty decent level of strength. Uh, he even compares to people like Lancelot, and not like the crazy one from Fate Zero that basically turns everything he touches into a weapon. But like the actual Lancelot that most people think of when they think, like Knights of the Round Table and everything. Um, that was like his whole jam. He was comparable to, basically the Knights of the Round Table. I think he even like Gawain tried to like blast him with an attack, and he just kind of like brushed it aside with his cape. And he has like a skill called Natural Body that can like make him even stronger, which is great. And of course, he's got his Noble Phantasm, but we will discuss that in a bit. As far as his speed rank, also got an A in agility. So again, he's comparable to the people in the chapter that have, an A in strength and A in agility. Um, but yeah, I mean, he hits pretty hard. He can definitely take a hit. Yeah, like he takes a hit from Gawain's Excalibur Galantine, and with no damage. Like he's just kind of like, okay, cool story, bro. Now watch this. Uh, Usually famous last words, hold my beer or now watch this drive. But he's actually got the bite to bark back. That made no sense. Anyway, he's also really smart. Like, of course, you'd expect. I guess smart isn't the right word, but he's a wise man, which kind of comes with the job. There's even like the Hassan of 100 personalities. Or personas. She's got like a skill called like the Library of Stored Knowledge or something like that, and it's basically about how like it's the story of how like that Hassan was able to gather and store like the most information in the entire world forever times two, or whatever. So of course Hassan's also put into stock, things like battle intelligence and whatever. But more so about like his special abilities. He's got his Noble Phantasm. Pretty cool. Probably one of the coolest Noble Phantasms in the series. And it acts as like a decapitation with an ordinary greatsword. Like his sword is not special. That's the difference between him and most heroic spirits. Is that most people have like special weapons like Excalibur or trying to think of another example. Uh, Ku Cullen's Gay Bolg, they all have special weapons. But his sword is actually a normal greatsword. It's actually his faith. He was very faithful to Allah, to God, and his faith is actually what makes him such a formidable threat. Because like his sword is dyed with the absolute faith of a man that spent a lifetime wielding it. Like he literally spent his entire life fighting and killing in the name of God. So basically, as somebody who you know walks the line between life and death, his sword is actually able to kill anyone it cuts, no matter how minor the wound may be and no matter how strong the person is. If he's able to make a cut on you, that sword can kill you. Um, but it's actually not like a super high chance of it happening. So like it even says that like there are some or most of the time, 90% of the time or something like that, he ends up literally like hacking your head off before he ever kills you with the instant kill effect. But yeah, like he could make like a paper cut on you and that's it. You're dead. Uh, but the good thing about actually dying in this way is, as opposed to getting your neck hacked off, sounds fun, but I'll pass. You actually die without pain, suffering, or regret, but you do die with fear, dread, and repentance. So, feels bad, kid. Next, he has At the Boundary. It kind of goes with that thing he was talking about before, with being between life and death. Basically, that's the ability that allows him to terminate the life of anything it cuts. It's a really small chance, but that's not all At the Boundary does. It also allows him to becomes super resistant to instant death effects applied to him, so it's like, I can kill you instantly, I have a small chance to kill you instantly with a single cut, but I also resist if you try to do that to me. And also he has like resistance to charm effects and fear effects. So he can't fall in love, he can't be afraid, and he can't be instant killed. It's a pretty good ability if you ask me. His whole deal is basically being like the Grim Reaper. That's literally what Azrael is. It's the Angel of Death. But he also has independent action, which I think all Grand Servants have, if I remember correctly, or it might be independent manifestation. I don't remember off the top of my head, but it's basically independent action is like what Emiya has. Basically, the ability to survive in the world without a master supplying them mana. With his B rank, it actually allows him to stay in the world with 2 days, so long as he's conservative with his magic energy. Um, but of course, he has like a B rank magic resistance, which helps him, as the name would suggest, resist magic. Uh, Basically, like they have like chance for the magic, and anything below 3 verses for the chance can't affect him. So that's actually a pretty solid ability. But where he shines through is his present concealment. That's like, I think each class has like a special like ability associated with them. And King Hassan, being an assassin, for his class, it's present concealment. And basically, his present concealment is a normal A, or actually, it's either an A or an A minus. I can't remember. That's because he's actually cursed, so that like whenever he goes to kill somebody, like normally he can't be sensed, but when somebody goes to, or when he goes to kill somebody, they get like a premonition of their own death. Like they get a vision. They're like, I'm about to die, and that kind of, it's like, yeah, sure, he's still got like an A rank, he's still very hard to detect, but if the person knows they're about to die, they can't die without being attacked, so they know they're about to be attacked, so they have time to do whatever, be it take evasive maneuvers, brace themselves, whatever the case. But the cool thing is, I've discussed this before, and I don't think it's ever mentioned, but I do believe um, that without the curse being in effect, his present concealment is, as you'd expect from a grand level assassin, EX. Like I believe it's described as like he becomes one with the world and his existence is erased. So like he cannot be detected, basically. Like there is some pretty crazy um, present concealments in Fate, but that one's probably one of the craziest because he literally just can't be detected. Like I remember Ozymandias, one of the servants, he has this ability to basically create like instead of like creating a reality marble, which is basically like recreating a famous place or a place famous to the person and like bringing it into real life, like as a pocket dimension. Like for example, Iskandar's reality marble is when he crossed the God, I can't remember. He crossed some river, and it's like part of like the one of his biggest, maybe not achievements, but like it's something that a lot of people know Alexander the Great for. Marched his army across this river. It was this whole big ordeal. I think it was either before or after a fight against his nemesis, uh, Darius. Yeah, Pharaoh Darius. But basically, Ozymandias has the opposite of a reality marble. Like he actually brings what he's famous for into the real world, as opposed to like creating a pocket dimension. And he creates like his temple, like Ramses Tentitris, I think it's called, and like he brings like the like all the great temples and stuff that he lived in and had built when he was the pharaoh, and basically one of the abilities of like that is like he's pretty much all powerful within this complex, and King Hassan is able to get in there, cut off Ozymandias' head, and get out by the time that Ozymandias even realized that King Hassan had shown up. So, with present concealment like that, I don't really think the curse is that much of an issue. Like obviously it sucks that people are gonna know when they're gonna die when you attack, or at least that they're about to be attacked, but like obviously it didn't really do Ozymandias much good. I mean, again, because he's like all powerful within that little complex, he was able to just reattach his head, if I remember correctly. But it's like he couldn't even do anything. He couldn't prevent his decapitation. He couldn't hit King Hassan back when King Hassan had retreated. He just lost. So that's a pretty busted ability, if you ask me. But another area where King Hassan shines through is his ability to for battle continuation. He actually has an EX in that as well, and it's represented that he himself is between life and death at all times. So basically, no matter what you do to him, short of like completely annihilating his whole body, he's gonna just keep going like nothing's happening. Basically, think Kid Buu, except he can't regenerate. So it's not super crazy. It's not like you have to deatomize him or anything, but you will literally have to blow him into chunks before he stops coming. Like if you blow off an arm, he's gonna keep coming. You blow off both his legs, he's just gonna crawl at you. Like he's just gonna keep going. The man is ruthless. I think we actually get to see somewhat of a representation of that in the anime when I forget who it is. I think it's one of the Lamias, the little creatures that fly around. I think they shot a bunch of holes into him, and he just keeps going. He's got like blue flames coming out of his body. The dude's crazy. He can like teleport. He can like produce like blue flames and stuff like just by looking at somebody. It's pretty crazy. He also has an ability called Evening Bell, which basically it's like it goes with that, like how like the bell tolls when they're doing like a funeral or when somebody has passed away, they toll the bell. It's basically that. And if the evening bell tolls your name, it's basically King Hassan saying that God says to me that you're supposed to be dead, and the fact that you're not dead means you're doing something you should not be doing, and you're also going against the you know plan of God, and like you're going against like divine intervention and everything. So I'm acting as God's agent to correct the right or the wrong that you've created, and I'm gonna right that. Like, you may say, "Oh, God wants me to live. That's why I'm still alive." And King Hassan would say something along the lines of, "Well, if God wanted you alive, He wouldn't have made me." Um, so that's the evening bell. It basically allows King Hassan to um, quote unquote, grant salvation in the place of God to those who have lost sight of their moment of death. So it's basically like if anybody knows Ryogi Shiki, it's basically like mystic eyes of death perception, and it doesn't kill the person, it kills their fate. He has the ability to kill abstract concepts with his sword. So, he can't just do this. This can only be activated by the will of God. Like God has to pick the people that he can use Evening Bell on. But yeah, basically he like by killing your fate, he basically makes it so that like no matter what you do, even if you have like time travel or causality manipulation, like you can mess with cause and effect and stuff, it doesn't matter. Your fate has been killed, so you cannot exist beyond this point. So that kind of throws that down the shell. But he also has, of course, protection of the faith, where he's basically unable to be tampered with, and he's like completely immune to mental interference because his whole body and soul is reserved for the serving of God, and he has natural body. He used to have an A rank in natural body, and it's basically like no matter how many calories he consumes or no matter how much he doesn't exercise, his body will always be perfect and strong. But he actually like modified his body in the name of his faith, so it went from an A rank to a C rank, not as good. And basically, one of the coolest things about him is like you look at him and you're like, wow, he's got some really good stats. No, his stats are better. His stats are better than what you're seeing. He has something called Uncrowned Arms Mastership, which basically means that until his true name is revealed, every single one of his stats appears one rank lower than they actually are. It's like you see his strength is actually one stat higher. You see his agility, it's actually one stat higher, and so on and so forth. It's crazy because people look at him and they're like, oh, that's a decent servant, I should be careful. And then they get annihilated. I'm talking like Yami just pulled out the last piece of Exodia and he just insert Kaiba's face here, like what do you do about that? You expected you braced yourself for somebody with a B rank in agility to hit you with a B rank in strength, and you just get blown back. Like you were not ready for this. But yeah, his whole vibe with basically like insta killing and like being like basically the angel of death and this, that, and the other, whatever you want to call it. That's basically his whole. That's like his general vibe and stuff. Um, yeah, that's pretty much it for King Hassan. Sorry I haven't been making videos as consistently recently, but I just wanted to get this one out, make sure I had a video for today, and I'm thinking about probably doing like maybe. I'm thinking about either doing Records of Ragnarok tomorrow, or maybe a versus battle between Hector Doyle and Hajime Hanafusa from Kengan Ashura. Or I might do a Kengan Ashura video tomorrow. I guess it really all depends on what I want to do, I suppose. But yeah, that's, tomorrow's video is for tomorrow. For today, this is it. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Like the video if you liked it. Comment. Say something nice. If you say something mean, I'll destroy you. Subscribe if you want to see all these videos I'm putting out. Don't expect them consistently because I don't want to. Got them. So that's pretty much it. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.